might never get another chance to catch this. In case you're wondering who's the realest, the name unforgettable.
A happy 4th of July and a new Dream 3 podcast for you. Here it's July 3rd. We got a lot to talk about. We have the NBA triple logo man that was pulled and sold. We got basketball playoff, or we got basketball trades going on. We got Neil's Avalanche winning the show. Let's get into it.
You there?
All right. Back after a little bit of time off. Got a lot to discuss. Last night, UFC 276, which you and me were going back and forth, texting back and forth, kind of what's going on, what was going on last night. Let's start from the top down. Like, let's go to Adesanya fight first. What's your kind of takeaways of what
I think we were texting a little bit, and I think you kind of spoke to this probably the best in saying it wasn't the best matchup. But I'm just going through back to like what Adesanya has been able to do probably the last, say, 4 or 5 fights. He's mostly been a technician rather than a finisher. Mm-hmm. It's not exciting, but it wins you championships, and that's kind of where he's kind of taken that. It sets up the super fight between Pereira and him. I mean, I think it sets up pretty well. I don't see any reason why Dana wouldn't make that happen. I think he's probably the best contender, and he'll challenge Adesanya a little bit. So
there's a lot of talk on Twitter right now of Adesanya being compared to Mayweather as an entertainer who people love or love to hate, but he's also being a very good defensive fighter. You look at Adesanya's last few fights, he hasn't been touched. The Paulo Acosta fight, he never got touched once. This fight with Cannonier, he may have gotten hit, 4 or 5 times, maybe twice flush, but it's going the distance, but he's not getting touched, which in the name of the game is if you can save that damage, you're going to have a long-term longevity career. Unlike, let's say, like the Chuck Liddell effect, where where you needed a crowbar to knock the man unconscious, and then by the time his career ended up, a slight breeze could knock him out. So Adesanya, even though it's not exciting, he's not, let's say, going in there and throwing leather just to throw leather, but he's being very cautious and picking his spots and playing a very good technical game, which a lot of people aren't liking, but like you said, we're here to win championships, not to get into a slugfest.
Correct. Now, this brings up a good point that I don't, and I'm not here to this is kind of about the UFC card that just happened, but I think this is a good point to bring up, John Jones and what he did. Like, when you're talking about, these Kamaru Usman, we're talking about Adesanya, we're talking about these guys who are holding the belt for a long time. They're going to challenge, records now. And if they continue to do that, they will get there. But I think what John Jones did as a technician was he would exploit everyone's weaknesses, and then he would go and he would capitalize and finish everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think when you look at Adesanya and how technical he's been and a defensive fighter, and Twitter saying, okay, let's compare him to Floyd Mayweather, I think it's more of a testament to John Jones in the fact that he could do all those things that Izzy is doing right now and still be able to put people away and make it entertaining for the crowd, which I think, shows a lot about, essentially what UFC should be about. And what's exciting about the sport is the finish. You're able to finish your opponent. I mean, that's the name of the game. It's not necessarily about dragging it out for 5 rounds. I think everybody can tell you that. But Izzy's doing great. I mean, he's a champion for a reason. He's been there a long time. We'll see how things go.
Do you think him and John ever meet down the line?
No, I think John's. If we're going to be honest about John, I think you know this too. He's coming back for two fights, at most 3 fights, and it'll be 1 to whatever, fight Stipe or fight Stipe or fight Francis. Probably Stipe first. I think that one's going to be set. That they haven't made the announcement on that, have they?
No, not yet. They're still waiting for one of the
coming.
two to sign the contract.
Yeah, it's coming. So, number 1, he beats Stipe. That solidifies his spot at heavyweight. Then, fight number 2, you go out and you take out Francis. If you manage to do those 2 things, his light heavyweight career is solidified. But if he's able to do that and be a 2 division champion, better than Daniel Cormier, it sets him. I mean, he's already above everybody, but it sets him apart into the beyond. We shouldn't even have a conversation anymore.
Correct.
And maybe a third fight is okay. He comes back and he wants the light heavyweight belt just to show his dominance, or like you said, maybe Izzy is that third fight just for a showman's fight, because they are technicians and it would be a good one, but you never know.
Speaking of dominance, let's go to the co-main event: Max Holloway versus Volkanovski. Like one-sided. I said this in the gym earlier this week. Looking at Max at the press conference at weigh-ins, to me, he looked pretty drained out. I don't know if it was a rough weight cut, rough training camp, something like that, but he did not seem full. He did not seem like he was all there. He was, obviously very motivated, very prepared, trying to get that win. And he had battled his way back to fight Volkanovski. But, what does it say for Volkanovski to completely dominate that fight from bell to bell?
I think he just has his number. I mean, I think, once you lose to a guy twice and then, you come back in a third fight and he just obliterates you, it's a testament to your work ethic, your training, your ability to watch tape and just get better every time. And Max may have gotten better against other opponents, but the ultimate thing is he's got to get back to the belt, and to get to the belt, you got to get past Volkanovski, and he didn't do it. It's more of a testament to Volkanovski than I think it is Holloway and Max, just because I think honestly he's past that stage in his career where everybody goes through a peak, and he's not at that peak anymore. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to salvage what's left of it. And I think you could say last night there are 2 or 3 guys who you could say probably should have laid their gloves on the mat after last night, and he's probably one of them.
Do you think, and they teased it in the cage and they teased it at the press conference, do you think Volkanovski should move up to 55?
He's what is it, 35 right now, or is he 45? I can't remember what.
45.
So 45. No. And the reason why I think what you get with 155 is you get all the height and size of Max Holloway, but you get people cutting from 170 who are bigger, faster, and stronger.
You gotta remember Volkanovski was a professional rugby player at 230.
I understand. How tall is he though?
Probably like 5'6".
Okay. There's a difference between playing rugby and then literally getting punched in the face. Rugby, you can use some of that, fat to help dissipate some of those blows. Mm-hmm. But when you're just getting pwned in the face for 5 rounds. It's a little bit different. I think Volk's probably safe where he's at. Does he really need to? No.
It's cleaned out the division.
Yeah. Who else is left in that division?
Nobody.
Any young talent?
Not that's worth a shot.
Or are they all in 135?
They're all at 135.
That's probably why. I'll tell you what. I mean, well, no, he's pretty thick, but he's only 5'6".
I don't think he could cut another 10.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
If he could cut
It'd
10
be interesting
pounds,
to see.
that would be the way to go. But if you can't do it, I don't think 155 really does anything for your career. Maybe who's the 155 champ?
Right now it's
it's vacant, isn't it? Because Charles is
Charles and Dustin, yeah. So it's Charles and whoever he fights next.
I mean, well, do you think Dana's going to give him a title shot if he goes up to 155 right away?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Make a champ match.
Do it. I mean, might as well. But I think you're getting into a lot more lankier guys who might be a little more talented than Max. Max is really skinny. And I think you get a little more meat on your bones that you got to deal with. It's like Connor. I mean, Connor jumped up to 170, and I think he outtouched himself because he realized, making that jump, there's a little more power there.
Yeah. Speaking of up-and-coming players from this weekend, Alex Pereira, not really that he's an up-and-comer, but a lot of people in the MMA scene don't know who he is.
Right.
Very, distinguished kickboxer. He'd been fighting kickboxing in Glory or K1 since I believe he was 15.
You could tell in his speed.
Yeah. Last man to knock out Adesanya, which, if you haven't watched the first 2 fights, because he fought Adesanya twice.
In kickboxing, will be clear.
Adesanya got caught, but still, he knocked him clean out. Now, what he did to Sean Strickland was just, it's that kickboxing timing and knowing that range. And Alex Pereira, is showing that. The
question becomes, what can he do outside of kickboxing? Because if we're talking about Izzy being a really good technician, he's not going to try and
kickboxing.
Keep the distance. Yeah, it's not going to be about distance. It's going to be about close quarters, being in the clinch, taking him down, and getting into the rest of the MMA. And is Alex talented enough to be able to do that? I don't know.
Be good to find out. And as much hype as that matchup got during the whole weekend, it's something that we people kind of want to see, so that might be the next fight to make.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think fair.
So also. Yeah.
He deserves it. I mean, you don't go in there smacking around the number 4 ranked 170 and not give yourself a title shot, especially when the others haven't really shown any success. So why not throw one out of left field?
Yeah. Cowboy Cerrone finally retired, which I'm happy about, even though, great fighter, loved watching him fight throughout the years, but man, he's on a massive losing streak. Like he said, and you could tell over the last couple fights, he just doesn't love it anymore. He's got, his kids are growing up. He's doing movies now. He's got so many different things. Like, if you're not all in on fighting, there's no reason for you to get into the cage. And I think it's a good final matchup between him and Jim Miller, 2 long-term veterans, obviously future Hall of Famers.
I was going to say probably both Hall of Famers at this point.
And they fought each other before, so it's not like, they're going in and fighting young lions. Like, it's 2 guys with similar skills, and, it's a good fight to go out on, even though it didn't go Cowboys' way. Still entertaining. Anything could happen between those 2, and I'm just kind of glad to see it be done, and him to move on to his next phase of life.
Yep.
I think I can't think of anything else that was major on the main card. I know on the prelims, I was texting Craig and Tommy that I don't know if you watched any of the prelims, but Uriah Hall is hot garbage. Like,
So I think his peak was the spinning back heel kick. And
I agree too, because all that show was after he hit that, he felt so bad about hurting the guy and the guy going out in the stretcher. He has been a mental head case.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at his career and look at his record, it's just, peak and valley, peak and valley, peak and valley. Like, you think Uriah Hall is about to turn this corner, and then it's just like he doesn't show up, and it's all in his own head.
Yeah. Oh, the O'Malley
Pedro Munoz fight.
Yeah. So
the thumb poke.
So UFC posted he suffered a corneal abrasion, which, if any of you know anything, can be cumbersome and albeit painful. But there's been guys in the UFC who have suffered a lot more from an eye poke who managed to finish the fight.
Yep.
So it's kind of sad the way that ended.
It was a tough way to kick off the card, especially, a lot of hype around O'Malley, and for something to end like that, it kind of made the card feel like, it's going to be one of those.
Yes,
and you
100%.
And you saw throughout the card, there was a good amount of eye pokes, which, begs the question, does the UFC need to look into a different type of glove?
Well, I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, think of the old Pride gloves. So the old Pride gloves made the opponent's hands, the fingers actually curl over, so you couldn't put them straight out. So the glove made your fingers curl. Onyx,
but does that put the people who are wrestlers or jiu-jitsu specialists at a disadvantage with not having the same hand dexterity?
No, I think it puts them in a better advantage, because now, instead of having to go here to grip, most jiu-jitsu guys cup and don't use their thumbs anyway when they grip. So I mean, you look at Fedor, you look at Nogueira, you look at, Mark Coleman and Mark Kerr back in the Pride days, they had absolutely no problem putting their hands on people and getting them down. Even Trevor Whitman's come up with the glove with his brand Onyx that, he's been trying to get the UFC to use for a long time, because eye pokes have been, it's part of the game. But it's something that, if we can figure out a way to get around, as long as they're not like the old kickboxing gloves that are like half covered and the bottoms are open.
Here's the thing though. I don't think it happens enough that it's truly a significant problem in the UFC. I think it just happens enough just to piss you off. And True. I don't know if it's worth changing the gloves for people to complain about it, or I don't know what that answer is. But I do know that some guys just need to sack up a little bit, and getting poked in the eye versus having an orbital fracture is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you're in there to fight, you probably should, I don't know, grow some balls.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it was a good card, top to bottom anyway. It was long. I think I went to bed at like 1:30. But
I watched the rerun of it the morning after, because I fell asleep literally watching Volkanovski just put away Max Holloway like a redheaded stepchild. So yeah, I was like, this is just embarrassing.
So let's go back into something that happened, I think it was last week. So the LeBron triple logo man, which Ken Golden said is the biggest card of all time, who had put out estimates that this card should sell for $5 million, $6 million, $7 million, ended up selling for $2.5 million.
I've heard through the grapevine that there was some bidding issues for some of the bidders, in which they weren't allowed to bid after a certain price point, meaning there was some backdoor promises and exchanges going on with Golden, because someone came out and said right after the sale that he knows of 10 people who would purchase the card at $2.75 million right now.
Mhm.
And that makes me think, okay, well, if that's true, I'm sure there's someone willing to pay more out of that. So it seems really weird how a card could be pumped up so much and then just fall flat on its face.
Especially when we know the people in the hobby and collectors in general that have that money on hand that could buy it straight up if that was the price. Like you said, is this
Like Drake, like I'm pretty sure Drake wouldn't like if Drake really wanted that card, if he's searching all these flawless cases just to get that card, like $2.4 million is like
nothing?
his
I mean,
pocket change out of his car.
he put $1 million on Izzy last night, so
Yeah, so
it's nothing.
$2.4 million for a piece of cardboard covered in plastic seems a little
So
bit cheap to him.
does that ring insider trading to you, where somebody can buy it at a cheaper price and then resell it down the line for
Oh, I think there is.
2, 3, 4x?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going on. I think that goes on in the hobby all the time. I mean, if you other than the we'll call it the COVID boom and just sports boom of the past, the sports card boom, there's some manipulations of the market, and I mean, you see that with V Friends and their hobby boxes getting shilled to the moon by people, by Gary V's group and his clan. I'm not surprised. I mean, you see it it's almost become like a weekly or monthly thing where, someone's scamming someone in the hobby, or someone's trying to cut corners in the hobby, or, someone's trying, doing this and manipulating the prices so that way they can sell their, it's happening all over. And
I think
it's almost expected now.
The biggest, like one of the biggest sports, I think, I wouldn't call it a pump and dump, but a hype to fall flat was WWE Prism. I remember, hobby boxes were $1,500 a box.
Yeah. What are they now?
400, something like that. And then you
Probably
go
could
to
get some cheaper.
So it's kind of going into another point that I wanted to talk about was, I'm able to see some retail stuff back on shelves. And one thing that I see a ton of is WWE Prism. Like, people buy a ton of it, but they can't move it unless you're opening it. Another thing about retail, I don't know if you've even seen any retail lately. There's so many products of, I don't want to say crap, because everybody has their own different genre of what they like. But the Bowman U's and these NIL type cards where it's just kind of oversaturating football and it's oversaturating baseball and basketball, and the amount of, I don't know if it's Panini, like we've talked about in the past, just printing cards to print cards, but so much.
It's so I think part of that is there is a market. They wouldn't produce it if there wasn't a market. There's a market. I mean, Ryan Johnson, okay, card collector too, loves to collect Ohio State players in Ohio State uniforms. So, I mean, he's got a massive collection. He doesn't care what the prices are. He loves collecting Ohio State because he's an Ohio State fan. I think there's that kind of there's those people in the hobby still. So I think there is a market for it. But do I think Panini is also overproducing a mass amount of products just to be able to put money out there and make as much money as they can because they're going to lose all their money in 2024 or 25?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I also think that is the case. They're printing so many different products and retail and hobby, and the market, I think, is being oversaturated with cards. And the only thing that I think people it's like the market has matured to the point where they know that the only thing that's worth anything is if it's like super, super secular as a super high-end product. Other than that, it's just like, it's not worth the same.
I've bought some boxes recently just to, to open things because I haven't had anything in a long time. And, I opened a couple boxes of Mosaic Soccer, and it's just like, I look back and I'm like, why did I even open it? Like, it's not, unless you're opening a hobby box, like it almost feels like it's not worth it anymore.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, for us who are truly collectors and appreciated the cards as they used to be made, it's not about that anymore. There's so many more people in the hobby that Panini, like I said, Panini's just going to produce this crap product, this crap retail product just to get money out there on the shelves.
Now, what's your thought real quick of, do you feel that the market is flatlining? Is it falling a little bit to correct, or is it peaking? Because I always see that, the certain YouTuber, card guys, all the market's going up. People are buying, people are this and that. I'm like, I don't know if they're doing that.
So here's something. So a lot of people will call them podcasters, influencers, and other just big names in the hobby. They've talked about how this market's in kind of a dip. Now, part of this is being the fact that we have the National here in 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So people are kind of waiting for that. And at this time in the market, it's going to be slow because people are either saving their money or they're cashing out, and things are getting undercut because they're trying to sell to get money for the National, or just get other inventory, or buy lots just to buy people out. So things are a little slow, I think. But if you look at like overall the market since or the card ladder 50 market. So if you go into the card ladder, look at the indexes, you see CL50, which basically is all of sports or all of cards. Over the last 3 months, down 11%. Over the last month, down 8%, and over the last 2 weeks, down 1%. So the numbers are getting smaller as the months have kind of got closer and closer. So are we reaching the bottom? Probably. I mean, what we've talked about, over the course of the last year is, well, football's kind of been the driving part of the market. And, it's kind of the summer. NHL just ended.
Baseball's the only thing on.
Congrats, Colorado Avalanche, my team. I won two championships in a year, which I never would have thought ever happened. The Rams and the Avalanche, nuts. Spent way too much money on those cards, or on those teams right now. So, anyways, the point is, we're in the soft part of the year where, the only thing running is baseball, and baseball's down too. So it'll pick back up once fall comes around. It's the summer. People are enjoying the summer. They're spending time with family, 4th of July, they're before the fall hits, so I think everything kind of is culminating in that. And I think once the fall hits, we should start to see some stuff pick back up. And I'll even go as far as to say, like, in football, the overall card index shows from the last month, it's down 8%. But if I were to say, okay, the football market's down 8%, but if you were buying Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and probably Tua or Trevor Lawrence, your market's definitely not down.
Yeah.
Like, those markets are already picking up. So overall football, yeah, probably down. But the market and those players, specific players, are up for sure. And they are the hottest thing right now on the planet.
For sure.
People are prepping for the season. So
yeah, and I think and I've seen a lot of people talk about this, that Josh Allen seems to be the hot topic going into National.
Yeah. I think and I've said this, that, like, Josh Allen, yes, great player, great quarterback, but it's kind of like, what have you done, though? Other than lose the most meaningful games and playing great in those games, like, Aaron Rodgers can tell you all about what it means to play really good and then choke when it matters most. Like, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know. I think it's just a little too high. I think it's a sell-off time for Josh Allen once the season starts.
Okay, so how about a little bit of basketball? The favorite thing right now is how about, the Nets just basically blowing up.
So
Katie's gone.
So KD and Kyrie both go to Brooklyn to try and formulate a super team to win a championship. Then they bring in James Harden. So they have James Harden, Kyrie Irving, KD, essentially all well within their prime. Harden and Kyrie basically keep trying to kill each other.
Yep.
So Harden gets moved, and then now Kyrie and KD are there, and they're at odds with each other, I think, because they're not happy with the situation in Brooklyn, but they're the ones who constructed it all. So it's kind of like, you guys are your own problem right now.
Yep.
Now Kyrie's trying to go back into LA, apparently.
I heard Katie and Golden State are there's a possible trade there.
So Warriors win the title, and they add one of the best, top 10 players in the league, top 5 players in the league. That seems really good right there.
And then you look across, like, a lot of people getting paid. Zion gets a $200 million deal over 5 years.
Let's talk about that real quick.
All right.
$200 million to a kid who the only thing he's posted in the last, or only thing that's irrelevant in the last few months, is him dunking a basketball. And that's supposed to get you $200 million for dunking a basketball. I can name you every other NBA player in the league who could dunk a basketball.
A guy who's only played 86 total games in his career.
Yes. Forget the fact that, okay, yeah, you weigh 295 pounds and you can box people out because you're a big doughboy. Like, other than that, and dunking a basketball, where's the $200 million?
It's crazy that he got a massive deal, and Ja got a massive deal, but it was only 5 years, 125. Like, Ja is the premier guy of that class so far.
Right. And I think he will be forever of that class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It baffles me. But then again, it's New Orleans, and they need something to cling on to because no one wants to go play down there. So
very true, except for Zion.
Yeah, I guess you get paid $200 million, and all your contracts are guaranteed. I guess you can go eat Mountain Dew or go drink Mountain Dew and eat ho-hos all day long, because what are they going to do?
True. Cristiano Ronaldo is bailing from Man U. I think that's a great decision. Man U is going to be terrible for the next couple years to come. Yep. So good move for him. If you have those World Cup cards or any Ronaldo Man U cards, we're sorry. Should have stick with Chelsea right now. Stick with the Pulisic and Kai Havertz. Yeah.
I feel bad for Ronaldo because he kind of wanted to end it. It seemed like he wanted to end it there, but yeah, you don't surround anybody with your team or with him. It just makes that player who's of his caliber and of his prestige just kind of pissed off.
For sure.
Yeah. But he's got a chance at a World Cup.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. So
yep. Anything can happen. Still, I know me and Josh are still betting on hard for World Cup. Got some Mbappe's coming in, bought this week. So a lot of good stuff going on. USFL.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think about? Let's take away. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take away Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, who you could probably say is the top 3 quarterbacks people are getting for the season, right?
Yes.
Who are the next best 3? The next best three with a chance. If you're investing your money, who are the next best three quarterbacks?
So you're saying the next best three to invest in card wise, who you would put in?
Who is undervalued and underappreciated for the team that they've created or constructed around, or has a chance to break out and be, a star. I can name three people who I've thought about over the course of this.
I can get two off the top of my head that I'm not, without thinking really hard. I would say Lamar is one.
That would be the other one.
Dak Prescott would be two.
I didn't really think Dak Prescott, only because I can't trust Dallas. But the other guy I was thinking of was Jalen Hurts. Yeah,
I mean, Jalen's a sleeper. I was thinking pretty heavily in invested in Jalen, especially after the A.J. Brown trade. Philly's done a lot of stuff this offseason to really, and if you look at Jalen himself, how much weight he's put on, and he's hit the weight room, and he looks good, and he's a big, strong dude. He's primed for a breakout season. Obviously,
he reminds me a little of like the Russell Wilson type player that kind of can run. Okay, I like the Derek Carr. D. Bland, good point.
Derek Carr's a good option. The Raiders.
There's a lot of underappreciated guys.
You could. I don't know if he's underappreciated, but you could throw Russ in there with Denver now. Denver.
Do you think they really can challenge the Chargers, the Raiders, or the?
With Russ in there, yes, because it takes a premium QB to be able to guide that. Like, look at Tom Brady, look at Peyton Manning. Those guys took average wide receivers.
Trust that? Do you trust the talent though on offense?
I'm not sure if you really have to trust the talent. You just have to trust the guy who's in charge to put them in the right position.
Well, I mean, we see that with Aaron Rodgers every year.
Yeah, but we're talking about not. I'm still thinking of, I'm still thinking card wise of who would I invest of? Do I see making a big leap? Like, Russ is going to have some great games. Now, is he going to struggle against those AFC West teams? For sure. I don't think the Denver defense can really keep up with some of those high-powered offenses. But will Russ?
I would say last year, but definitely not this year. They've lost some key pieces.
Yeah, and Tua is for sure part of that conversation.
Do you think he's the least talented of the guys we named, though?
Of the top five that we named?
Of, let's say, Derek Carr, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and Russ. So out of six.
Yeah, he's the least talented. He's the least talented.
You maybe think that's probably why people don't. At least me, I'm not a big Tua guy, and I think it's because I don't trust him. I don't trust left-handed quarterbacks who aren't named Michael Vick.
I just don't think we've seen enough of him yet. I mean, you put him in a bad situation in Miami to begin with, and now he's not starting over. He's starting with a better team.
See, this is what I don't get. So Brian Flores put those guys in a good position where they were winning football games and they were playing meaningful defense. And I don't see why they got rid of Brian Flores. I don't know how your coaching gets better from that.
I don't know.
It seemed like the quarterback consistency at the quarterback position was the hardest part. Because I think offensively you were there.
You had to fight.
Defensively, you were there. You just needed a guy to
injuries with Tua, and it was.
And Flores he's a New England guy. Who other than Belichick, they typically aren't. They aren't head coaches. They're very much role coaches.
Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien. You could say Josh McDaniels. He had a short stint in St. Louis. Matt Patricia, who's now going to call plays for New England. Okay. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Tua.
Yeah, but training camp kicks off here this month, so we're only a couple weeks away from football again, which is nice. And then this is the last month. Well, actually, we get football this month, so then it'll be the last time without football until March, and
Thank
then
God.
we'll have the USFL again. We'll have the XFL, so it's basically year-round football from now on, which I'm down to watch.
That's right. They need to bring back the European Football League.
That would be nice. That would be.
You remember those old 9:00 games? You'd watch European football.
I remember
Those were some decent games.
I remember mostly of them being in Madden. I used to play against the European leagues all the time in Madden.
Yeah, when you felt bad about yourself, you go play against the Euro teams.
You want to run the score up on somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those days. Ooh, underrated. I heard this. ESPN NFL 2K5 greatest football game ever made.
Fact. Yes, and I still have it. It's sitting
100% agree.
Sitting back here right now. It's the greatest game of all time. It had
greatest game.
It had all the dynamics of a football game you would want to play. It had the halftime show with Chris Berman with highlights. Yep. It had the mansion where you could create, all the things, and you could play the dart games and this. It had first person football. It had, a little bit of everything. So it is to this day still better than the current Madden.
Yeah, it was by far the greatest football game ever made. For those young listeners, go find yourself a copy, plug it into your Xbox,
It'd be
play
hard
that
to find.
game.
It's like finding NCAA 14. It's like $115.
Yeah, it's well worth it.
Which I'm hoping that the new NCAA game is not going to suck next year.
Who's the creator?
EA. If they do it exactly like the old EA, if they do it like the old NCAA games, it shouldn't. But if it's like, the Madden B team, it's going to be rough.
Is it EA, or are they in conjunction with anybody else?
That I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, if it's a true EA, let's bring back all the NCAA gurus who made this game good before, or if it's like EA, but we're going to give you all the people who run Madden Ultimate Team to create this, then yeah.
And it sounds like they have 128 of 134, 37 schools signed on. So it'd be good you'll have most of the Division I schools. I wish they would bring back the FCS schools. But, as long as it's just as good as it was back in the day in 14, 13, 12, I'll be happy with it.
Oh, got to get back to running that Oregon spread option.
Or you had the Army, the Navy, and was it West Virginia triple option? Georgia Tech triple option.
Yes.
Oh my God.
You could run that, the triple option.
You could run that all day. It was amazing. I remember me and Josh would play every year on Christmas, and I was Oregon. Was I Oregon? Yeah, I was Oregon, and he was Purdue, or something like that. Well, we get down. I'm winning. I scored with like 2 seconds left, and I'm up 6, or I'm up 5 with 2 seconds left. So I kick the ball off, and Josh houses it. Just one of those things I'll always remember. Dude takes it to the house with no time left and automatically wins the game. I was so pissed.
I think we all have experienced that on.
Yes, I remember when we used to play Madden 06 online against people, and we would just fullback dive with the Patriots the entire game.
Yeah, that was when you had Lawrence Maroney, who was that was when they had the trucking stick, the truck stick that came out, and I mean you could just bulldoze people.
Yeah, and we get so many people to quit because you just fullback dive every single play and you get 4 or 5 yards.
Yeah, you couldn't stop it.
Nope,
never.
So we kept doing that.
People got really pissed off at that.
Yes.
Really pissed off.
So yeah, you got anything else?
Nope. I think that's a wrap for this week.
Yeah. Short and sweet on
quick.
this podcast. Got to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. There are fireworks going on out in my parking lot right now that I can hear. So
congrats to me.
Congrats to you, Stanley Cup champions, defending Super Bowl champions. Big thanks as always to our sponsors, My Slabs. I just put a ton of stuff up on My Slabs. People should go check it out. Always use My Slabs. Better than eBay, 100% fees. Yeah, it changes the game. Protect your slabs with Slab Savers. Go to protectyourslabs.com. Use the code DREAM3. You're going to get 10% off. Get a good case. Protect your high dollar stuff. Now, when you ship your cards, use gradship.com. Use code DREAM15. You're going to get 15% off. It's worth it. Trust me, when you ship your cards, your high dollar stuff, you don't want to take a risk. So protective of those cards, ship them safely. And finally, our friends at Nation Golf. It's golf season. They got a lot of cool stuff out. New hats coming out, new visors, Peruvian cotton shirts. Great stuff. So check them out at nationgolfco.com. Have a good 4th of July week. Me and Neil will probably be back next week.
Monday.
And until then, we will see y'all later. Have a good weekday. Have a good week. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, the whole shebang-a-bang. Reach out to us on Instagram. Let's get some deals done. Until next time, later.